Hello, I got a question for you. What do you get when you mix a bread pudding with apples? Well, I wondered that too, and I thought, why not experiment around a bit? And I came up with something that has no bread in it. Instead, it's got the apples in there. I had to make some adjustments to the usual, usually we'd use like a custard in a bread pudding. This is more like a bit like a batter. It comes out fantastic. I call this baked whiskey apple pudding. So it's great to have nice and hot out of the oven. And I've got it here with a little bit of vanilla ice cream melting over top of it. That is absolutely fantastic. Now I had this the other day. I made a batch the other day and had it cold the next day. It's a little bit different texture when you got it cold the next day, but it's also really good that way. So hot or cold, this is like a bread pudding, but with apples. Enjoy. So let's go in the kitchen and make some of this baked whiskey apple pudding right now. All right. I mean, here's the ingredients, and other than cutting up the apples, the rest of it is super easy. This is what takes the most time, is getting your apples ready. And I have a video in the Patreon feed, and one of my kitchen tech videos shows exactly, but all it is basically is I don't peel the apples, I core them, cut them up into small pieces. 3 apples, ready to go. So it's 3 apples cut up into small pieces. Well, here we've got 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of like a light brown sugar. This is my favorite cane sugar, natural cane sugar. Over here I've got a 1/4 cup of butter, and that is cold and cut up into smaller pieces. 3/4 cups of heavy cream, like a 35% cream. 1/2 cup of whiskey, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And first, what we're going to do is just kind of blend up the dry ingredients. So let's throw the flour in here, throw the sugar in here, and then the baking powder, the cinnamon, and the salt. And I just want to get those blended together, so I'm just going to give them a quick zap in the food processor. And that is it. All right, so now what we're going to do is get that butter in there. And I want that butter, just like when we're making anything where we've done this in a number of recipes, we chop the butter up in here until it's like small grains of butter left in there, like little tiny pebbles or whatever, about that size, about 1/8 of an inch or 2-3 millimeters around. And so we're going to do that. Just pulse that a couple times. All right, that's done. So now I'm going to get out a bowl, throw this all in the bowl, get rid of that, move off to one side now, and then what I want to do is I want to mix the cream and the whiskey into this mixture. So first of all, let's get the cream in there. Just kind of work that in. This is going to be a very sloppy batter, so just mix it until it's a little bit mixed in, and then it doesn't have to all be done, because now we're going to mix in that whiskey. In goes the whiskey. And you can see, just want to work that in until our batter is just kind of a runny batter. We're not making a cake here. We're making a pudding. All right, once that's all mixed in, that's good to go right about there. All right, so it's basically combined. Then in go the apples. You see how easy this is to make? So get those apples in there, and then all we'll do is just kind of, again, mix the apples in until all the apples are coated with some of the batter. So just kind of turn and toss a few times. Doesn't have to be perfect. Now, what I've got here is a 9x9 baking pan, which I've buttered. So just kind of smeared butter all over the inside of it. And then just pour this in there. That sounds like our oven is ready to go. Now that oven is at 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. And we're going to put this in there and bake it for 30 to 35 minutes. What I want to look for is I want to see some nice golden browning on top. And that's when it's ready. So let's get the rest of this batter in there. Okay, spread that out into the corners a bit. And that is ready to go in the oven. All right, so I'll see you in, oh, that is good, in about half an hour when this comes out of the oven. Okay, that's been in the oven for just a little bit over 30 minutes. I don't need the full 35 minutes in my oven. It's quite hot, so about 32, 33 minutes. Now the way you could tell it's ready is you look at the top here. It's a little bit brown, and if we look, we see the little holes and little pulling away, cracks, or it's pulling away from the apple in some places. That is done. Now, unlike a cake where we worry about, have to put in a skewer and make sure it's perfectly done throughout. If it's a little soupy inside, it doesn't matter. This is a pudding. It's going to set down a bit. It's going to be perfect. I'll tell you, what you want to do now, let this sit for like about 5 minutes, then serve it up with vanilla ice cream on top of the hot pudding. Delicious. So enjoy this baked whiskey apple pudding. Now if you go to the link appearing on the screen and also clickable in this video's description, you can download and print out this recipe from the Dessert Recipes booklet on Kuma's Kitchen's Patreon page. Just click the featured tag called Recipes. Now, go print out the recipe and enjoy baked whiskey apple pudding and make cooking fun again with Kuma's Kitchen.